Hey everyone, I'm Brad Williams, and this is the Bandwidth Tapes. Today I get to share a conversation that's very special to me with someone whose music has been a real companion in my life over the last few years. Vocalist, guitarist, and composer Becca Stevens. If you know Becca's work, you know she never stands in one musical place for very long. She moves effortlessly between jazz, folk, classical, and something that really only sounds like her. She's worked with an unbelievable roster of artists: Brad Mehldau, Jacob Collier, Antonio Sanchez, Scott Colley, David Crosby. And yet what shines through most is her authenticity and her willingness to follow the song wherever it wants to go. In this conversation, we get into all of that and more. We talk about what it's like right now, balancing touring, teaching, and writing. We dig into her time at North Carolina School of the Arts, the moment she realized music alone was more than enough for a lifetime of exploration, and how a wildly diverse listening palette, from Bartók and Steve Reich to Joni Mitchell and Björk, still informs her fearless approach to making records. We also go into some pretty personal places. Becca opens up about grief, the loss of her mom, and the making of her solo album Maple to Paper, a record that has meant a lot to me in processing my own father's passing. And we talk about her beautiful chapter with David Crosby and the Lighthouse Band, and how his voice still lives in her writing today. It's a conversation about artistry, parenthood, loss, and the long, slow simmer of choosing authenticity over marketability. I was moved multiple times while we were talking, and I think you'll hear that. So wherever you are, on a walk or in the car, settle in and enjoy my conversation with Becca Stevens.
You need. My tongue gets tied and you're clear when you speak. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the trees. My grounded love with your calm clarity. What if mine ain't enough for the love that you need? My tongue gets tied and you're clear when you speak. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the trees. Be still, my heart, it drifts above. Up where the dreams go. Out of love.
Becca, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to meet you and pleasure to have a few minutes to sit and chat with you.
I've been looking forward to this too.
Yeah. We as we were just chatting, I've been dealing with some illness and had to reschedule, so it's just built up the anticipation of getting to talk with you, so it's really good.
Dealing with some illness sounds really cryptic. Maybe we should clarify that we're talking about sick babies from the ages of
that's right.
1.5 to 24.
That's right. That's exactly right. Thank you for not worrying all the listeners. Like, oh no, what's happening? Yeah. That's right. So how are things for you these days? I think you're kind of busy. You have a little bit going on these days.
I've been busy with touring and writing and teaching and momming, which is so much fun. We were just connecting about the fact that yours are all grown up and mine are still technically little babies.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky to have childcare during work hours during the week. And so it helps me to, slay and compartmentalize during those hours and then roll around and jump on couch cushions at night.
That's wonderful. How do you think being a parent has changed you as a musician?
I like this question. I think I heard you ask this one to Maeve Gilchrist.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely efficiency. It's the first thing that comes to mind, because the every minute that you spend apart, unless you're lucky to have a family member close by or something, it costs money. And not only does it cost money to be apart, but it's costly on the heart,
Sure.
I just while I'm so grateful for that time to be able to build my career, because my career feels like a child too. It's something that I love so much and I want to care for and keep blossoming. But now that there are these two humans out there that I love more than anything in the world, including my career, it like tugs on my heart a little bit to be apart and to be missing out on certain things that they're sharing with amazing people who are caring for them. They're at daycare right now, and their teachers are awesome. But it definitely it lights a fire like I've never known before.
Yeah.
A fire of accountability and of efficiency that I've never known before. And efficiency is kind of a big deal for me because I tend to rabbit hole, or I have tended to be a person who wants to try every angle of the thing. And I love to experiment, and I kind of love to rabbit hole and lose myself in the process. So I think a little dose of efficiency is a healthy thing for me. And then I just want to give the question of the fullness of thought in the spirit of rabbit holing. I think more directly, it's grounded my singing in a way. I remember hearing myself sing in a microphone for the first time after having kids, and something was different, but I don't quite know how to describe that.
I think, and as a singer, I that resonates with me in that I think, at least for me, as becoming a parent, I think you become more intentional in how you communicate. You have to be, you choose your words wisely, and you focus on how you say things. And I think that makes sense to me, that even down to enunciation, and then the emotional piece of it, everything you do has a different purpose, at least, when you become a parent. And I think for me, from the moment my children were born, this idea of legacy takes on this whole new meaning. And even, and then you think in terms of musical legacy as well. I mean, there's so many factors at play there,
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also the stripping away of yourself being the thing that you believe is the most important, which is the natural thing to believe from when you're born up until you create something else, you know?
Sure.
And then you create something else and you lay your eyes on it, and then that just immediately shifts. And so that gets reflected in your art too, where, I'm in my art, I'm already struggling with the practice of trying to reset that, especially when I'm writing music, to constantly reset this question of, serving yourself versus serving the song. And that could look like, is so-and-so going to like this? Am I doing a good job? Am I doing a bad job? Am I ruining it? Am I making it better? All these questions that feel kind of self-serving, which is, again, totally normal for an artist. That's sort of the default, right? But then when you reset that and say, well, how am I being in service to the song? Then it puts your energy towards something that's bigger than you and that's outside of you. And I feel it's a similar shift with parenthood, where you're no longer the most important thing to yourself, and everything else feels smaller all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Because it's all these little things don't matter as much, because you're just well, I'd like to get home and roll around with my kids. And this is just, I'd love to serve this as best as I can, but I don't need to kill myself over trying to make it some perfect, incredible, like I'm the greatest thing ever type of experience.
Yeah, it's certainly, it brings a new light to the things that matter and the things that really don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in reading about you, I learned that you are from like the Western North Carolina area.
I wish I was from the Western North Carolina area. I'm from Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina, yes.
I went to summer camp in Asheville, and a lot of my relatives are buried in Western North Carolina and from that area. And for some reason, it feels like I was born there too.
So I spent 2 summers in high school at the Brevard Music Center.
Oh, cool.
And and I grew up. By the way, are you getting a bad echo?
I'm not.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to, and I'll edit this out, but I wanted to make sure everything is sounding okay on your end. So you good?
Let me know if there's something that I can do. I see echo cancellation lighting up, so that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you're good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I spent 2 summers at Brevard Music Center in Western North Carolina and grew up just north of Atlanta. And just that part of the world is so important to me and holds such a special place. And then I had a teacher at Brevard. His name was Massey Johnson, and he was at one point, I think, the assistant dean at the North Carolina School of the Arts. And I almost went to school there as a high school student. And I'd be curious to know what your time was like there, because I have a huge regret for not going to school there. I think I would have been a junior in high school when I would have gone there.
That is exactly when I started there.
Oh, really?
Junior in high school, yeah. I was around, so North Carolina, which is now University of North Carolina School of the Arts, is in Winston-Salem, where I'm from. And so I was around there as a little kid. My mom got her opera degree there, her master's degree in opera, and even before she studied there, I was in like plays there as a little kid. And then I was in musical productions there when she was there. I would come in and like audition for these odd parts and like the little kid parts in plays and music productions. And then my sister was there as a ballet dancer. She did the preparatory program for many years from little kid up till college age. And then she went off and became a professional ballet dancer. So I was around there hanging out with her when she was there and took ballet classes there in the preparatory program too. And then randomly went to boarding school for 2 years, 15 minutes from where I am now. Got kicked out, swore I would never come back to New Jersey. And here I am 25 or 30 years later, however long, 25 years later.
Did you ever drive by and like throw anything on
I did
campus?
Once. I didn't throw anything, but I threw some stairs. I was like, my second daughter had just fallen asleep in the car. And I was like, well, I can't go home now. And I saw the exit and I was like, this will be interesting. So I drove by and I was like, wow, how surreal, you know? Anyway, so I got kicked out. And the letter, it was like you weren't invited back type of thing. Like, go get your kid tested for ADD and don't bring her back here, that kind of thing. And the amount of time that I had to figure out where I was going to go was like, you know, a flash in the pan. I couldn't apply anywhere else. And my mom at the time suggested, well, why don't you go to School of the Arts? And that was a dream of mine, but they only had available to me at that age as a junior in high school. I couldn't do the drama program yet, and I was into drama very heavily at the time. I could study opera, but both my parents were opera singers, and that seemed very uncool to me. And my sister was the dancer, so that was like off the table, you know? And so my mom said, well, why don't you try guitar? you're so good at the guitar. Why don't you try the guitar? And I kind of laughed at first. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe give it a shot. And I got into the classical guitar program, and it completely transformed my life, because I went from being a kid who was, at best misunderstood, at worst kind of bringing down the morale of a classroom by acting up because I was like the clown or whatever. And just like so unsettled in these environments where I couldn't find access to artistic outlets, to suddenly having that all day long every day and feel and quickly raising to be like the A+ student valedictorian in college, like just 180 from being in an arts environment. And it was when I was 16 at the School of the Arts where my brain shifted from this feeling of wanting to have my hand in all the pots, drama, dance, painting, be a zookeeper in the monkey cage. Like I was like, I want to do all the things, to suddenly this, switch flipped, and it just was music. I just want music. Music is already this infinite, endless thing. It's more than enough. That's where I want to be. So, that happened at School of the Arts for sure.
School of the Arts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would imagine too, just being around like-minded people your age, that you feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
I remember high school, and I work at a school. I'm a tech director at a school, and the joke of that to myself, that the fact that I can't even believe that I graduated from high school. I was so distracted by music when I was in high school. I didn't want to do anything with classes, but I would imagine being at a School of the Arts, just being around people that understand the walk that you're on has to be so validating.
Absolutely. And in an environment like that, you're not just hanging out with musicians. I had a visual artist friend crew, and I was hanging out with some of the actors and also musicians who were much older than me, because UNCSA is high school and college combined. So I was learning so much from these classical guitarists and musicians who were 4 years older than me, and playing jazz with them, like doing jazz gigs. Jazz became my new rebellion during that period where, the classical repertoire felt sort of limiting when I was doing that every day and practicing notes on the page. And so jazz became something that I would, listen to in my car with my eyes closed after class, and just lose myself in this feeling of limitlessness, and then started to dabble and put together gigs with these college jazz kids there.
Yeah and I've read in some interviews of yours that I think even at that period of your life, you seemed like you had a really diverse listening palette. I saw names like Bartók and Steve Reich, but Joni Mitchell and Björk, and I can't help but think that informs you as, I think you don't stand, I get the sense of you as an artist that you don't stand in one place very long, in that you're always, there's a fearless energy of always wanting to try something new. And I've noticed that in all of your releases. Do you feel like you really draw on those influences, that diverse palette of influences you've listened to for so long?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my greatest passion and affliction. It's like for better or for worse quality of my artistry is that I can't stick with one thing.
Well, as a fan of yours, I appreciate that, though.
Oh, good.
It's such wonder. I think that's one of the most appealing things about you is that, and it's never it always feels intentional. It never feels like a reaction to what is happening in the world at the time. You seem like you're on your course, and that's that's what you're doing. But it's always it's this beautiful artistic thing that's happening. Yeah.
You're right, and I appreciate that. Thank you for giving me credit. You're right. It's coming from the choice to commit to authenticity rather than marketability, which I think, mixing in some more of the latter would probably do my career more justice. But it's not my cup of tea. It's like, I would so much rather have a long, slow simmer that is where I'm just relishing and enjoying every step of the journey than to make choices that could make things more comfortable, but they feel icky or inauthentic to me.
Yeah.
And so that's at the heart of it. I mean, I have, it's a different story if I'm working on a record or like a body of work, and I find myself being pulled in that way to something else, then it's a different story, because then the focus is coming from devotion to the thing. But then when I finish that record and the pull happens, I listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you let when you set out on a new project, whether it's you're going to record with a string quartet or whether you're going to record with a solo vocal and a guitar, do the songs dictate the direction to go with that? Or do you have that idea in mind and then maybe the songs come a little bit after that? What's the chain of the order of operations with that, I guess?
Depends on the record.
Yeah.
The string quartet project is an interesting one. I'll give you like 3 or 4 examples quickly.
Yeah. You can give me 20. That's okay.
So the string quartet project, it's a Taka quartet, Becca Stevens Taka quartet. And the original version of that one was a stage production from 2013 that the pianist and arranger composer Steve Prutzman hired me as part of a mainly Mozart series. So it was this series that was like, who are composers that are doing, like, making the type of music that Mozart would be making if he were alive today, like that. And so he brought me in and then started to come up with these incredible string quartet reworkings of my music. And randomly, my dad got involved. He found out that my dad is a composer and arranger, incredible arranger. Like, whenever I'm doing these pieces, we get to his and I'm like, these feel so good. And so they started collaborating, and then my dad did a few for the concert. And just as a side note, my husband now was on that concert, and that was when I met him. And, a couple years later, we started dating, and then randomly a year after that, I'm telling the story wrong. We started dating because he randomly ended up in my brother's studio to record that project with a different quartet.
Wow.
That's how we started dating. And then a few years after that, we decided to re-record the whole thing with the Taka quartet. So in that example, to go back to your question, the arrangements came first. We were like committed to this concept and we followed through. With Maple to Paper and Wonderbloom, the concept was solidified before the songs were finished. So Maple to Paper, I maybe wrote 1 or 2 or 3 of the songs and was like, oof, this is going to be heavy. How do I want to handle this? And then collaboratively back and forth with Nick Hard, who worked on the album in an engineer capacity, but only remotely for Maple to Paper. So just on the phone and listening through different software. We were going back and forth, and I tried I sent him some where I had some layered background vocals. I sent him a version where I recorded the guitar and the vocals separately, and then I sent him a version of a song where I recorded live, just holding the guitar and singing with two microphones in front of me, one on the guitar and one in front of my voice. And I was sort of shocked because he is an engineer and a producer, and I thought that he would say like, well, this one sounds the best because you were able to, we're able to isolate them. But I was sort of shocked to hear him say, hands down, by far, for this project, you have to record live. Like, it just has to be one guitar, one voice, recorded live. This is how the character is going to come through. And that's how I was feeling, but it was really cool to have that validated. And that, I would say, affected the writing, because then I had to find a way in the writing for everything to be self-sufficient and to leave room for the character to come through and carry the songs. And then last example I'll give is Wonder Bloom, which I mentioned. A lot of those songs in the studio started out just as seeds, maybe like a vocal and a drum loop and a bass line or something like that, and very much crafted in the studio, just asking in each moment, like, what layer am I craving and what would complete this patchwork of sounds?
Yeah, I think it can be dangerous territory for a songwriter to go in with such a firm plan on what they want to do with their songs. And, I applaud you for being so open to letting others give feedback and be receptive to that, because not all songwriters, not all artists are. And I would say that, I would imagine that collaborative energy in the studio or even during the production process had to really probably bring out the best in the songs and probably bring out the best in you too.
Yeah. Why should I assume that I know best, being deep in it? It's really important. I mean, there are aspects of it that some more intimate parts of it that being deep in it, best, but sometimes often the best thing you can do is to get a trusted set of fresh ears on a thing that you're so close to that you can't see the forest for the trees.
By your desire to cut the race and lose your way, you focus on how to hide out, denying real.
One of the things that I notice about you is that it seems to me that others really, really want to work with you. The list of musicians that have reached out to have you on their projects, from Brad Meldau to Jacob Collier to Scott Colley to Antonio Sanchez. I mean, I'm like, holy moly, what a list of people that want to have Becca on their project. What unites all of those experiences for you, getting to work with those amazing musicians?
I love collaboration. It feels so playful after making an album like Maple to Paper, where you're completely alone, grieving in your apartment.
Yeah, sure.
recording alone, writing alone, and then you get to connect with these people, these heroes, and bounce ideas off someone who inspires you. It's the best.
Yeah.
And I think that it raises your superpower levels too, because then your strengths mix with the strengths of the other person, and you end up with this magnified strength bubble around the two of you, where things get mixed together and then create this new form of superpower strengths. As far as like the common denominator, maybe you could clarify what you mean by that.
Well, just I think, and maybe it's just the fact that these are, like you said, these are heroes. I mean, these are it's, and maybe it's that. I mean, for me, the thread is that these are like musicians that will be talked about for generations to come, and their common denominator is that they all wanted to work with you. I think that's a beautiful thing, and maybe there's not even a question in it. Is that just that, in that collaborative energy, because I do think, while. And I do want to ask you some about that solo project, and I can imagine that what that experience was like for you in itself, but also as we talk about as a collaborator. I mean, that brings out another side of you as a musician, right? You're using a different muscle working with others than maybe just working with yourself, yeah. I would want to know, if you're brought into, if someone wants you to work on their project, how do you know when it's time to maybe assert your artistic vision on their track versus being a person that they, that you're going to go with their vision for the song?
Oh, wow. That's such a great question. And of course, I'm going to say that it depends on the collaboration. When someone gives me the green light to bring in some original material, I'm always ready to go, Yeah. And it's, as I'm thinking of the question, I'm thinking of 4 different answers because you named 4 different people. Antonio, he asked me to bring in an original song for this album that he did, where each song features a different artist. And we ended up working on something together, where I opened up a book of writings from a multitude of people who were incarcerated when they wrote these poems and plays and things like that. And I opened up to a page by a play by a guy named Sterling Cunyo. And this play just knocked me off my feet. I sent the idea to Antonio, and it was very collaborative. Like he, big yes in all caps. And then I started trying, what would it feel like with guitar parts like this? And I think I sent him a demo that was just guitar and vocals. And then he sent me back this incredible arrangement where he was like doubling the guitar parts, playing the bass, layering percussion, coming up with these synth parts, and then, became this collaborative writing project with him, which is so cool and not really the plan, but now I can't think of it any other way.
Sure.
and so cool to be able to bring these words into a musical realm. We ended up getting to have a conversation with him, with Sterling, while he was still
wow.
incarcerated, and now he is, he's out, and he's like living his best life, and has said some really incredible things about how grateful he was to like get to hear that then and now and everything. And then with, I guess, with all these folks that you mentioned, you said Scott, that was in the Three Visitors collaboration, where Edward Simon reached out to me asking for me to sort of help with the lyrics of a song that he had written. And similarly, I initially I'm always like, okay, how do I serve this project without like treating it too much like my own thing? But then when somebody gives me that green light to go, I'm like, all right. So this was during the pandemic, and I was like, do you mind if I kind of like demo some background vocals? And he was like, please. And so I sent back a version that had all of these kind of cool, crunchy background vocals with it, and he loved it, and we used that. So that was the collaborative element there. With Jacob Collier, it's like, it's a mixture, and it depends on the thing. We wrote a song called Bathtub together, where we hadn't decided yet whose record it was going to be on. Initially, we thought it would be on Regina, and then we thought it was going to be on one of his records. And then eventually it just became this freestanding thing that we released with a music video that we made at his house over the course of like a year, or maybe even longer, of just like anytime I was in London, we would return to this table of Play-Doh and like fabric scraps and jewelry and stuff. And this is also a testament to Jacob's mom, Susie. This was her teaching room, like where her instruments are set up. And there was this table there for a year that was not to be touched.
That's commitment.
Because it was stop motion. So if it got moved, it was like game over on this year-long stop motion project. So we'd come back and like, move the Play-Doh a millimeter and take a picture, and move the Play-Doh a millimeter, and that went on for a year. And we also decided to have like contrasting imagery of us dancing in the choruses, and went into his backyard, or garden as they call it in the UK, and do choreographed dance routines that took us, days to come up with and execute. There was like a fast forwarded section where we ran from downtown and ended up in his bathroom and zooming into it was just like
amazing,
unbelievably playful. And whatever you imagine as like the fun, creative stuff that you used to do with your friends as a kid in middle school, that's what that feels like. And that's amazing. Often how I feel like hanging out with him. That said, when we sing on each other's project, it's a little more like, it's a little more like this song plus you send me stuff from home. I'll sift through it and pick out what I want, and when he sends stuff to me, I'm like, I'll take everything. It's all good. And I can't remember the fourth person you said. Was it Ambrose?
Brad Belden.
Brad, of course. Ugh. Yeah. I've been a fan of Brad since I was a teenager.
Me too.
He randomly, I think Sam Sadigursky gave T by C, my first record, to Florine Meldau, his wife, a great singer. And they were listening to it in the car randomly during the time when he was just starting to work on a commission from Carnegie Hall. And he had my voice in his head at the right time. And so he hired me back in 2010 or 11 to be the only vocalist on a project with voice and 7 saxophones. And just imagine who the greatest 7 living saxophone players are. And those are them. And it was this really cool project where he was like sort of using the saxophones as these rhythmic, like sort of like extracting rhythmic piano parts and giving them to these saxophones. And then I did these kind of soaring lines over top. And I think from that, he knew what I was capable of in sort of almost more like a new music, like jazz meets classical type of way, higher register singing, and I don't know. And so he asked me to come in and do a couple of his projects, and Jacob's Ladder, and now I'm drawing a blank on the other one.
I think it's a Gentle Giant song. I'm trying to
remember.
The
Gentle Giant.
Yeah. I can't remember the title of it now.
I'm so bad with remembering names of things, but yes, the Gentle Giant one. And then, I'm like super like meek and like, yes, whatever you need, Brad. But then he'd be like, do you want a solo on this? And I'm like, yes. Okay, here we go. I feel so closet fangirly when I'm working with him, but I have to be like, okay, be a professional, step it up. Come on, let's go.
I would feel the same way. Yeah, I would feel the same. I don't even know if I could stand in the same studio with him. I bet more power to you.
You could, because he's the nicest guy ever. Like, really? So deeply sincere and focused. And when you're talking, he's really listening to you. Every word you say, you could be having the first conversation you've ever had with him, and somebody else comes up to be like, Brad, let me ask you. And he'll just keep his focus 100% glued on you. He's so intentional and deep and kind. He's just the nicest guy.
Broken, the path has not been paved anyway. Cogs and cogs, the machine is being left where it lay. Anger and the rising murmur breaks the old circle. The wheel slowly turns around. All words saying nothing, the air is sour with discontent. No returns have been tasted, or are they ever sent? Slow burning is the fire, rising murmur breaks the old circle. The wheel slowly turns around. Cogs and cogs will turn it around, turn it around, turn it around. Slow burning, empty promises. Cogs and cogs will turn it around. Cogs and cogs will turn it around. Cogs and cogs will turn it around.
As we were talking about Maple to Paper, I have to share with you, December will be 3 years ago that I lost my dad. And thank you. And I'm not a songwriter. And I've never, my dad and I had a complicated relationship with each other, but music was that was our happy place together. We talked music all the time. And I think that I never was able to have anything that could express how I felt about losing him until I heard that album. I have to tell you that what it did for me, forgive me, it took me through the emotional journey of what that experience is like. And as we're talking about being parents as well, it's, yeah. So I just want to say thank you for that. That album means so much to me.
Oh, that what you, yeah. There's so much to say, but first I just want to hold the space for all of that. Listening to you, I feel connected to you. I feel what you're feeling in my heart, which is, I guess, the beauty of loss and grief is once you get to the other side of it, you're now in this new network of this really deep way that you can instantly connect with other people, And I'm also September 19th was for me also the 3-year mark of losing my mom. And you said the word complicated. I think it's always going to be like to some degree complicated. Like, no, I haven't met anyone who's like, my relationship with my parent was easy, you know?
Yeah.
And that was one of the, I think, driving forces, realizing that and coming to terms with that for myself, and also that it's universal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Death, losing a parent. If you're lucky, like if if you lose a parent or you die first,
Right.
And then it being complicated on some level is universal. And so just like coming to terms with that was part of, I think, what gave me permission to just write the songs the way I was feeling them, rather than trying to make it pretty and tie it up in a pretty bow. But that what you said to me, I go through, this is just to like let the listeners into this funny thing that happens physically when someone talks to me about such personal art. I go through this like physical, it's almost like a practice where initially I want to say, no, it's not about me. And, but then I remember that it's important to feel the gratitude. And then I like let the gate up around my heart, and then I hear what you're saying, and it just washes all the way down, and I feel chills like in my arms and like a warmth in my heart. And I think that that's such an important thing to bring in at the end of the pain for both of us, you know, to like allow that exchange of energy. It sounds very crunchy, but I mean it, you know, to like both in the performing and in the listening and then in the speaking about it, to like allow that exchange of energy and grief and gratitude, I think is maybe the purpose of this record, Beyond Me.
Yeah. Well, and as a listener of it, and I just remember that my first listen to it, I felt validated. Do you know what
Yeah.
I felt like someone's able to say what I've been feeling. And that something I couldn't feel. I don't think I could put into words. So yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gosh.
So thank you for that. You know, you put things out there. I would imagine that, you know, and it's such a vulnerable exercise, right? You don't know how it's going to connect with people. You hope that it does. You assume that, you know, that it will, but you just never know. And I can tell you as just me that, what an impact it had on me. So yeah, thank you for that. Well, I'm at a loss for the words a little bit for what I want to say about it, but thank you.
Thank you for returning the favor, the validation. Yeah, when I first was working on those songs, I had a 6-month-old. I mean, to be fair, when I was first working on the songs, it started before I was even pregnant with my firstborn. But once my mom passed away, my firstborn was 6 months old, and I was like just reaching for the guitar out of necessity more than anything. And the pen, journaling out of necessity, and just like, where does this pain go? I can't just sit here with it. It's too heavy. And so many questions, like you said, you know, when there's like the complicated nature of the relationship, I think it leaves you with more questions.
Yeah.
And so initially it was like the writing was happening, and I had nowhere in my mind was I thinking, this is going to be a record. Mm-hmm. And it took we were talking about like the outside, like trusting outsiders, trusting trusted outsiders, and people very close to me. I'll name my manager, Eric, who's also a dear friend and who lost his father to COVID a year or two prior to losing my mom. So we were like kind of connecting on that. And then also my husband was like witnessing this, and both of them said, you should really like let this out as a record. It seems like a record. You should really, and similar to like the physical reaction that I was sort of walking through with you a minute ago, my knee-jerk reaction was like, no, this is way too personal. It's just going to be like 45 minutes of us like whining. Like, why would I ever, and it took a while to even get comfortable with that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a magnificent project, and I don't know how many passes you did on those songs, but I would imagine some of them couldn't have been many, because it would have been quite an emotional journey to record those songs.
Some of them, one of them is a demo that I had planned to re-record, and then I loved the sound of the babysitter coming in the room at the end and saying, either she wants to go outside or, and so I kept it because I was like, you could like hear my daughter like laughing downstairs during the take, and I was like, okay, this demo is going on the record. And then some of them I recorded for weeks or even like months, not consistently, but I just was so obsessed with the character because I couldn't carry the arrangement with overdubs and arrangement. I couldn't carry the arrangement with arrangement. Orchestration, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so it had to be the character. It had to be the feeling. And so sometimes it took me a minute to find the one that was true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's so good.
Sickness was my little sister when she too grew patiently, cradled in your warm embrace and cut out quickly, just like me. Was that still you there in your eyes? Did I see a little smile as you lay paper thin and gray and gave your little light away? Does the cinder know the ember? Far beyond its former form, more so made by non-flame things. Who am I to say the ember's gone? Does a tear long for the ocean or relish in sweet separateness? Do we trust in what's left over when making sense of impermanence? Is presence only present tense, or does a memory really breathe?
Before we go, I want to just talk for a moment. So I had James Raymond on the podcast.
Oh, I wish I could tell you to say hi.
And of course, we talked about David Crosby.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I would just personally, I'll share with you that I'll never forget. I live in St. Louis now, and was supposed to go see a St. Louis Blues game one evening, and it was the day that David passed away. And I went with a friend to the game, came home, and stood in my kitchen. And for the first time in my life, I stood there and wept for someone I had never met before in my life. And that was the feeling that I have had and still have about David. And just the joy he's brought my life as a music listener, you know. And wow, I have never been this emotional on this podcast before. Becca.
You're welcome.
I apologize. I'm so good grief. What was that experience like for you? Just, I mean, I imagine you're still probably drawing from the well that it was getting to work with David Crosby, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he passed the January after my mom. She went September 19th. He passed in January. I spoke to him 2 days before. I mean, we were talking about the album cover for this record that we made.
Yeah.
That's done, mixed, mastered. We were like, let's just get an album cover and put it out. And then, you know, now it's been sort of dormant ever since. There's still hope though. I'll keep you posted on that.
Mm-hmm.
But he passed, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
This can't be real. This guy who I joked with Mike and Michelle, who I'm in the Lighthouse band with, Michael League and Michelle Willis, that, I mean, we all had this similar feeling of like, we knew how precious it was to get to be a part of his story at the end. You know, we knew that that every day with him was a gift. And because of his age and his health, we knew each time we got to go on another tour or have another writing project or make another record or just see him and laugh was a gift. That said, there was something in the back of all of our minds that thought, this guy's going to live forever.
Yeah.
He's going to outlive all of us. And so, you know, similar to my mom, where I knew she was dying of cancer for a long time and it was still a shock. It was like with David, I just thought he was never going to go. Like he just would always be there. And I was so pissed and so shocked, and then so sad. And then I remember I had put my phone on like this setting that where you make it so your toddler can't hang up phone calls when you're on FaceTime. I can't even remember what it's called. It like freezes the phone. And something happened where I had turned it off, and then somehow the phone froze and I couldn't turn it off or on. And I was like locked out of a Zoom call and an important meeting and my emails, and like everything was just melting down. He had died. My mom had died. My life was falling apart. I was like crying in my car. And then I had this like this moment where for a second I was like, oh yeah, I remember a piece of trash it was like a plastic bag or something was floating around in the air. It was a cold, windy day and it flew in my face. And then I just started laughing and I looked up and I was like, David, you are fucking with me. You are fucking with me. And all these little things kept happening. I was like, okay, I'll go to the gym to try and cheer up. And my thing didn't work to get it. And like all these things were melting down. And I was like, I know it. He's fucking with me. And then the phone started working and everything turned around. And from that moment on, I was like, he's just right here. Like, talk about, the complicated nature of losing a parent. It's never felt complicated with him for how much I miss him and wish that I could call him up and talk about a tuning or a shape that I found in that tuning or a song, or just like kind of shoot the shit. That one's never felt complicated because I feel very distinctly that he's just like kind of in my team of angels now. Like he's just this little voice on my shoulder when I'm writing. I feel like he gets to see me as a mom, even though he didn't get to see me as a mom,
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's just what we do as like grieving humans, is that we create these realities that aren't real so that we can survive, but it feels real.
Yeah.
It feels like he, maybe we take away the spiritualness of it and we just look at the fact that he left a mark in my artistry that will never go away. And that when I am writing, if time is just a human construct, then he is there because the voice that he left in my head from working together all of those years and from like knowing what he would say, that voice is still there and he is still there.
Yeah. I would say that as a fan of his and his immense body of work, of everything that he did in his career that I loved, for me, as an outsider, I never saw him play with as much joy as he did with the three of you. He just seemed like all of his career led up to getting to do that. And I probably watched that Tiny Desk concert 100 times. I'm not joking. And he just, not only just energy, watching the energy of it, but just the immense pride that he was getting to stand in that ensemble and be a part of that. It's just so special. Yeah.
That means extra a lot because he was very grumpy that day.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and
funny.
I remember he went in, he was feeling grumpy and then he came out of it and he was like, that was awesome. Like it was just such a beautiful experience. It turned the day around. We had played a show the night before and we were all exhausted. We had driven through the night on the bus and we were exhausted.
Oh, so funny.
But yeah, I mean, that means a lot to me to hear because I didn't know, I didn't grow up listening to his music and which was always like a playful point of contention. Which I think, he would like tease me about it, but also maybe kind of appreciated it in a way because I wasn't trying to ask him all the same questions that everybody's always asking him.
Sure.
But I felt that way. Like I felt that it was a chapter in his life where he was being received and held by these people who just saw him, me and Mike and Michelle, and also the Lighthouse Band, just people who loved him very purely and like held him and held his artistry with full and great like gratitude, fullness and gratitude and like appreciation of his endless authenticity. I felt that as a collaborator, and I am so grateful that I got to have those years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've had a wonderful time chatting with you, Becca, and this is
I just whacked my microphone because I got excited to say me too.
I had a good time, and just thank you for this, and just thank you for the music. Thank you for what you've done and what you're continuing to do. So yeah.
It's my pleasure. and my job, and I appreciate you receiving it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, best of luck, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Brad.
That was my conversation with Becca Stevens. I loved getting to explore her creative process, her collaborative projects, and the intentional way she approaches songwriting. If you want to dive deeper into her music and upcoming projects, head over to beccastevens.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, post about it, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future conversations on the Bandwidth Tapes. Ratings and reviews also go a long way in helping others discover the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.